reports out of preseason right now. Again, we're recording this on August 22nd, so it's probably gonna come out next week. So it could be a whole nother news cycle that we missed. But for the most part, it doesn't sound like Browns camp sounds very optimistic about the way Deshaun Watson's playing. So if you're Kevin Stefanski, what you need to do is go up and be like, Deshaun, what do we got to do? And then Deshaun goes, Coach, you really don't know? And all right, I'll leave it at that. But what she got it, you got to make this more clear. This has to work. RC Sports, it's in the game. Okay, this is a special episode from RC Sports. RC Sports, it's in the game. And we are back. This is one of the original things that's ever happened on this podcast before it was ever what it is now. And I couldn't tell you what it is now, but maybe our fourth, fifth episode, we did the Alpha Beta Index, just me and you and the SoundCloud robots listening. Like that was about it. Yeah.
It's my favorite milestone anniversary of the pod. Of all the ones, this is the one that actually means something. Yeah. And you post an episode like that, you have no listeners. All of a sudden, some hot girl is like, "Hey, do you want to repost this on a site where 1 million people can listen?" I was like, "This is easy, guys. They're listening. They love us." Yeah. No, we didn't have that, but for the third time joining us on this, I consider it really starting when our guest here started joining us. One of the first people to ever agree to ever talk to me on a podcast. Maybe I think the first person actually on my long forgotten Raiders venture. Marcus has swallowed up that show like a Walmart would swallow up a mom and pop store. Tape Don't Lie is just running through it all. But he's back. You know what I mean? It's a great show. It's a great show. Raider fans, if you're not, I don't know, man. I'm not going to diss any of the other guys, but if you're watching them, come on. So I'm going to say, like, just check it out. You start and you try. Man, the YouTube recommendations for Raiders shit is bleak, dude. You're like, who is this guy? Half the time, it's like you always got to give him a shot, and then you're like, what is happening? Tape Don't Lie. It's real. Yeah,
thanks, guys. Appreciate that.
Yeah. It's funny. You'll get a recommendation. They'll be like, should the Raiders move back to Oakland? My video. And you're like, cool, thanks. Yeah. They have 80 million views. You get that stuff. But no, what Marcus does on his channel is that it's Raiders centered. However, one of my favorite things you guys do is for the draft, right? Which is Raiders centered a lot, but if your team you might have scouted somebody that another team drafted. So if you're go ahead and check out that channel, check stuff out there. But I was thinking about, you have film at your disposal. You very much calculated claims. Now you're on the show where none of that matters. We don't do film here. We do hot takes. We do hot takes about all 32 teams.
Index, dude.
I am doing it. You're doing the hot takes. Actually, I have a Cambridge Analytica science machine that we designed. It's still in beta testing with Cambridge Analytica. I hate the term, but they said I had to use it. So the way is Marcus gives his take on the coach that's coming up, and you run it through the machine. I don't give my opinion. This is all just what our machine says about these coaches. We're going through all 32 NFL head coaches. This is the AFC edition, of course, the Conference of Champions, some might say. And so one thing before we get going, what happened to the running backs, man? What happened? What's it like being a running back at today's NFL? Like, it's just insane. It's just insane.
Yeah. Right now, I mean, they're just trying to ship him out. I think they're bringing him in, they're shipping him out. Oh, sorry about that.
Big running back fan. Fan. That was Jonathan Taylor. It was just like, it was at your house.
Exactly. Yeah, but basically what they're doing right now, they're drafting. I think they're gonna start drafting him higher, actually, like they did with Gibbs and Bijan Robinson, so they can get him younger. And then when they get to that point where they have to pay him, they're not going to pay them. And that's what I think they're at right now. Is we're seeing Josh Jacobs is not getting a deal. Jonathan Taylor, he wants a deal, which I still think is interesting. Like, bro, you just came off a bad year. Like, why are you trying to get a deal right now? That's just, and you're running back. I feel like that's just not who's in your corner, who's talking to you. Because that's just not smart, in my opinion. Like, they're not going to give you any money, man. They want to see you do it again first before they give you some money. So that's what I think they're going to keep doing. You're going to see a lot of these guys go in the first and second round now. They're going to go higher. PFF's going to be really mad about that. But the PFF's going to have to understand that the way the NFL is going, you're going to have to run the ball a little bit. And I think the NFL knows that. Maybe the nerds don't yet, but the NFL realizes that. And instead of paying the guy, risk go get a young one.
Yeah, I think that's I think that's really interesting. What you say is that the nerds don't know that yet, right? Now the NFL is becoming really nerdy, really nerdy, really nerdy. However, I do love that the NFL still has that gladiator element that corrects itself. Whereas, like, okay, here's my thing: if I'm a defensive coordinator, right? You're a defensive coordinator. You can get picked apart in the passing game, and there's a lot that you just can't do. You're just like, oh man, look, that's a contested catch. That sucks. Things happen. It sucks, but you don't. But when a team just runs the ball at will on you, it is emasculating. Yeah. You want to just, like, defensive coordinators still fear the run more than any nerd does. Like the nerd fear. Yeah, they can't stand it. They want to be stout in the run. Now that being said, the nerd argument is in return is, okay, but it's not about just one running back. It's about having a stable of guys making $1.5, $2 million Uber. You know what I mean? Like an Uber driver as your third one. Like just an app that's like, Devon A-Chain is on its way to come work for you. It's just like they want that gig economy kind of thing. That might be the nerd argument, but I do think my proposal, I don't know why the NFL doesn't do this, and I hope it does. I hope they do come to a head. Is that the NFL has a pretty hard salary cap, and what if you just gave every single year there was a number for the top running back? The market dictates top $12 million a year. If you sign that, you should only a certain amount of that should actually go against your cap. I think that would work, because I think some of these owners want to pay running backs. Yeah, they put asses in the seats. Like some of the owners do. GMs are just like, I can't because of the cap.
One thing Austin Eckler said too, I think the pushback from Twitter when guys have been paying running backs earlier has been affecting a lot of these owners and GMs from actually, they don't want to be the guy who paid a running back. You know what I mean? They don't want to, and then everybody's attacking you. It's like a conversation, all the nerds are coming out and saying whatever they want to say. And,
you can't win. You can't
win if you do that. So it's like a bad look too. And but I think Josh Jacobs' situation is different. I think they don't want to pay running backs. It's just like against their philosophy.
No, clearly they don't. Clearly they don't. No, that is, and that one, and that's an interesting story right there, because they didn't want to last year. They didn't even really want him back this year, but he led the league in rushing. So they were like, well, I guess we have to deal with him this year. Yeah,
I guess, man.
Yeah, I get, cheaper to keep her kind of situation. But so let's not waste any time. We're going to get you right back to the episode, but I just wanted to let you guys know of a few other things we offer at Rare Candy Industries. We have a Substack with free and paid subscription options. Free subscribers get access to all written content. That includes Bob's Red Pill. That's the best thing going on the internet right now. Trust me. Paid subscribers get full access to our premium episode feed. And that's just every episode we don't necessarily want to share with the general public, if you know what I'm saying. Again, that's rarecandy.substack.com. We also have merch. That link's a little long for me to say right now, but go to the description, go to our merch store, and find a shirt that's right for you. We have Rare Candy shirts, Dr. Bronner soap label shirts, Rishi mushroom shirts, all types of stuff there. Check it out. There's got to be something for you. And lastly, check us out on social media. On Instagram, we're Rare Candy Pod, but on Twitter, we're at Rare Candy Pod 1. All right, enough of that. Let's get you back into the episode. Sai, kick us off. Sai, you're much more of a football guy this time around, so I'm interested to hear.
This podcast started with getting back into NFL after a while. I took a little break from it.
You played reasonably well as a wide receiver. I mean, you were a good player, but you can. Exactly.
Good times.
Yeah, if you ever watch Hunter Renfrow, I mean, it's a certain image. I swear.
Yeah, I remember the first time we ever talked about Hunter Renfrow. He's like, dude, this dude runs routes like you. I was like,
kind of like Napoleon Dynamite-ish, but with some moves. Exactly.
Good.
Exactly. So kick us off.
Okay, so I do have some running back questions. Maybe we can do that for Marcus when we get to the Patriots. Maybe we'll
exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But we're kicking it off. All right, we're starting the AFC East. Oh man, we got Sean McDermott of the Bills. Let's go.
Marcus, kick us off.
You know what? This is getting a little interesting for me a little bit with this one. This was a little different. You know, I'm gonna switch it up this year. I'm gonna go beta on this one. I think he's losing control of some alphas over there. They're getting a little chirpy. You know, Stephon Diggs is the ultimate alpha. You know, ultimate guy who's gonna tell you how it is. He doesn't like how the offense has kind of changed and kind of went for what Brian Daboll was doing into now what, you know, kind of what Josh McDaniels likes to do with Ken Dorsey. It's kind of the same offense, and he's not liking it because he's running the same routes over and over again. I think they're losing control of what they have going over there, and I think that's a little bit to do with how Sean McDermott's kind of controlling this team and some of the guys he's bringing in there. So I'm going to go beta this year just because I think somebody to handle Stephon Diggs, you have to be an alpha. So I think Diggs is chirping a little bit too much, and they got him going in there. And I think it's kind of Josh Allen, maybe kind of losing it a little bit. And I think, you know, McDermott, if they don't do what they need to do this year, I think he might be out of there, in my opinion.
100%. The team. So the machine has him as beta as well. So I believe it's his first year in that category. Again, he can bounce back. He can totally bounce back. There's look, when he started, right, the Bills stunk, and we're getting rid of the pinball machines. We're getting rid of no games, guys. We're playing ball. It's about football time, you know?
Yeah.
Then they started accumulating a pretty good team, right? You started getting Josh Allen, by all intents and purposes, alpha. Stephon Diggs, you make the big move for him, alpha. Von Miller, alpha. I mean, just all these guys, they make these big moves, and they become the darlings of the AFC. Last year, they were pretty much the odds-on favorite to win the Super Bowl going into the season. Now that, when you don't perform, I still think they're going to be contenders this year, but it feels like less and less because they were supposed to be so much better last year. And I must point out to an RC listener who I got a message from him after last year when we did the Bills. And I remember saying, I said, man, McDermott's sick because look, that game was a shootout, that epic Kansas City Bills playoff game from 2021. That big game was just a shootout. Look, it's nothing he could have done about it. This guy, his Twitter username is "if you don't like snow, move away." So he's an upstate New York guy, I think.
Yeah.
And he goes, actually, he goes, love the show, a lot of stuff. You missed out on the Bills though, and it was just this crazy like Alex Jones type conspiracy theory about how it wasn't that bad. It was just like he blew the coverage on this last play, all that stuff. And I kind of just was like, look, I like to find reasons why my team lost too when they lose a big game. I wrote it off. He was right. Because look, there was a game in Miami where Ken Dorsey throwing the headset and stuff like that, where they just completely ruined the no clock management. A lot of stuff went wrong for that team. I don't think that I think a true alpha, Sean McDermott, needs to realize that it snows and it's windy in Buffalo. So build your team. They're trying to compete with Kansas City and Cincinnati, right? Or those two teams. Those two teams are way more physical up front than they are. Way more physical. Kansas City is physical. Like they will beat you off the ball, and they cannot. The Bills don't have that. They don't have, when it's cold and windy. I'm not throwing deep balls to Stephon Diggs. I want to be able to line up and pound the rock. And the Jim Kelly had Thurman Thomas back in the day, and they still like to air it out. It was just that thing. Look, he could bounce back. I like what they do over there. I love their fan base, but he's a beta. Sorry.
Well, there's that nervous energy with the Bills always in the sports media now, because they're always so hyped, and it's like when they lose, falter a little bit, it seems to hit so much harder.
Yeah, exactly.
And of course, there's that historical Bills precedent of just losing horrifically in terrible fashion, in Super Bowls and shit. So I don't know. It stresses me out. You're talking about. I had Josh Allen fantasy last year, loved it, dude. It was just a good pick, but it was like, man, they stressed me out as a team. And the DeMar Hamlin thing, that's a stain. It's not like a good thing, almost. It's kind of a weird, interesting.
Well, they have to play him now. They have to play him now.
Yeah, dude. I'm saying.
He has to, here's my thing. Like, you can't cut DeMar Hamlin.
Yeah.
How are you going to be like DeMar? We don't have many roster spots. He'd be like, For real? Come on. What I get? Yeah, you can't do it. So you have that
HR department.
Exactly. Do not. You are not tough enough up front to be a bald, jacked, like MMA looking guy as your head coach. Your team is not matching that. Let's not do the pretty boy indoor. You don't play indoors, so you need to be able to win outdoors. That's my caveat for the Bills. Like I said, hopefully Von Miller comes back and changes that defense, but we'll see. We'll see. All right, next up,
we got this might be the one I've been looking forward to the most, especially from Glenn. Mike McDaniel of the Dolphins, Miami Dolphins.
Oh boy. This is an interesting one to me too. I'm going to stick with beta, but I think it's a leadership beta. It's like a players, like I like the players type of thing. Like, you kind of like the guys, you want to play hard for them type of thing, but it's not really you're going to kind of take over this team when you need it. When, some type of that type of tough leadership, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, I don't know. I feel like I like him because I really love what he does on offense. I think he does on offense. It's crazy. And then, he's a run the ball guy. He's a tough run the ball type of guy, but I think his personality is just a little kind of goofy. I think if they start losing, he could lose the players really quickly. That's the kind of thing that, they were winning early on, and then the quarterback goes down. You kind of give your coach a little bit of a leeway, right? Your quarterback goes down. You can lose some games without your quarterback, especially when you're winning really early on with that quarterback. But let's just say they start losing games this year or something like that. I think that those type of things, he could probably lose a locker room quicker than he could gain it.
Oh, sure.
Just because of his personality, right? Because even Pete Carroll, he has a different kind of personality than, Mike McDaniels does, a little bit more just kind of coachy, kind of grandfathery, more type of thing. But, there's times where he can lose locker rooms too a little bit because just how he is with some of his guys. So I think McDaniel is just a way lesser version than that. And then just the way he looks is just kind of, it all plays into it. You know what I mean? Yeah.
He does not look the way that you would think a coach looks. Of course not. Now we, here at Cambridge Analytica, we do have him rated as a beta. That I think everything Marcus said was true, though. I think he knows what he's doing. Like it's not a football thing. Now that being said, I don't think you can be an alpha and rely on analytics. Like completely submit to them in key situations. I understand that it's better to go for it on fourth down in an offensive driven passing league, and then when you are a run, I understand that. Stop saying that that's why you did it though. Say that you're like, I just wanted to go for it on fourth down. I would never be like, well, the analytics said this. No, that's guy trying to save his job. No, you need to be trying to be a leader of men is what you need to be doing. And just be like, you know what? I trust my guys. We went out there and that's what we did. He has no things with that. So, first off, he played wide receiver. I didn't realize this. He played wide receiver at Yale, which as much as we want to clown on Yale, like at least Fitzpatrick, was a real player and played at Harvard. Like there were Kyle Juszczyk, there were real football players that played Ivy League. It's not that out of question. But I with him, first off, he has some sneaky alpha tendencies. That's what's funny about him. Sneaky. He was billed as the progressive kind of new age coach. You don't have to be a tough, toxic masculine guy to be a football coach, Look at Mike McDaniel. Yeah, the guy who went and played Tua with his brain scrambled. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. He still couldn't resist the temptation. He still couldn't resist it.
Runs the football. He runs the football too, like crazy. That's one of his things. He's trying to get Jonathan Taylor right now.
Yeah, he's a creative offensive mind for sure.
Yo, sure.
But I was listening to some of his mic'd up, and his dude's just a clown, man. Like his quarterback's avoiding him. He's just like, dude, do I have to listen to this?
Dog, he hit a vape. Coach
with a vape, dude. Yeah,
and he knew the camera, and people are like, he got caught. It's like, no, this was a whole PR campaign. Yeah, this was a whole
Reddit. It's Reddit.
Dude, it's a Reddit thing. Make sure, hey, Mike, this is gonna go crazy on Reddit if you hit the pen, and hit your little elf bar. But he also has this. He also has this this thing where he's definitely, again, I think the Dolphins could win this division. The Teron Armstead loss is huge. If he's out, I don't know how long he's out for, but that's huge. They really were bad after, even when they lost Tua and Teron Armstead. That's bad last year, but I would argue that losing Teron Armstead might get you to lose Tua as well. It's not not great. But I will say this: have you guys noticed a disturbing trend about like if you come from the Shanahan coaching tree, or run similar offense to Shanahan, it might be easy to play quarterback and have success because it's a very quarterback friendly offense, unless you want to survive, because all the quarterbacks get hurt in Kyle Shanahan offenses. You ever notice that? Like, what, Marcus, do they just hold the ball longer? I don't get
know.
it. Like, they all get killed. They all do. Even LaFleur at Rodgers was getting smacked around a few times. Like it just happens. These Shanahan guys, Kyle Shanahan goes through quarterbacks like nobody. I mean, he's
all get hurt.
They all get hurt. Tua. I mean, it's just something to keep out. I don't know. Anyways, yeah, beta, but they can win. They can win. They're good. Mm-hmm. They're the fastest team I think I've ever seen. Like on paper, as far as just speed wise, they're insanely fast. So, yeah,
it's crazy how fast Waddle is. Everyone talks about Hill, obviously.
No, Waddle is the truth.
Different kind of speed. Yeah,
Waddle is the truth. Yeah.
Those wide receivers, that offense is nuts.
They're nuts. They're nuts. So, next up.
Yeah, there's another interesting one given the NFL culture right now. The Jets, Robert Saleh.
Was Robert Saleh? I'm gonna go alpha, just because I like some of the things that he did last year with Zach Wilson. I think you kind of could take control of that team and just Mike White. I'm gonna play Mike White no matter what because I want to win. Put us in the best position to win. He's making decisions that maybe the owner might not like. The owner probably wants to see more Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson had a winning record. It didn't matter to him, right? He just wasn't showing what he liked at quarterback. And I think what he's doing with Aaron. I think he's getting Aaron to kind of fit in too. I think Matt LaFleur couldn't get Aaron to conform, but Aaron has to play in a preseason game. Like he hasn't played a preseason game in 5 years, and he's went to OTAs. He's doing all these things. He's helping out the young quarterback, and I think that all comes from the leadership. I think that all starts with Robert Saleh and how they feel about him. And Rodgers is like Nathaniel Hackett, who we found out who was the ultimate beta. And you watch him at Hard Knocks, I understand why he had nobody listen to this guy besides calling the plays. So you could just watch an episode of Hard Knocks and just like, okay, I see why you failed as a head coach. So, but Robert Saleh is totally different. I think that's he took control of that team last year, and I think they play really tough defense. And I think the Jets could be really good this year.
Our machine has them as beta. I hate to say it. I hate to say it. I'm not even sure I agree, but it's we're right in the middle with them. For one, I guess if I had to interpret the data, I'm not sure he's coaching the team right now. I think this is the Aaron Rodgers coach New York Jets. I think that's why Aaron Rodgers goes up everywhere, because he coaches the team. Give me the head coach, give me the headset so I can talk to Zach. All these things. Nobody's bigger Aaron Rodgers fans than me and Silence podcast. We've been carrying water for him for a long time. I think we're dangerously in Russell Wilson Bronco territory right now.
You think so?
No. It's a better team. I don't think they'll be as bad, but. Again, who was the only program last year saying that the Russell Wilson Broncos wasn't going to work out? I'm just saying, you heard it here first.
Yeah.
For one, they don't have wide receivers without Garrett Wilson. So if God forbid Garrett Wilson comes up with a soft tissue injury for 6 weeks or something like that could tank them. They have a good run game. Who's blocking for Aaron Rodgers? He's already having trouble with the protection in camp on Hard Knocks.
Hard Knocks, yeah.
And it's not like hey guys, let's get it together. Rodgers has his head in his hands, like, oh my God. Like he's got he's like Mekhi Becton. Let's go to lunch, which means let's make sure the Hard Knocks cameras aren't here because I have something to say to you, And there's nobody's blocking. Their defense is legit. Should be top 5 in the league. There's no reason it shouldn't be. Their defensive line is 8 deep. It's that's the alpha part about Robert Saleh. He's a D-line guy, and he's got 8 deep on the D-line, studs. That's good. I just don't know that he's anything beyond a defensive coordinator at this point. I just don't know because it's like you bring Rodgers and his friends over, Lazar, Cobb, Hackett. It's like kind of. It's weird because Rodgers doesn't come without that, but it's also you got to do a little bit of it. I just wonder if they did too much of it.
Yeah. See, I'm different than you with the Jets. I think the Jets are going to win the division. Okay. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to come there and they're going to ball out. But my huge but is in that second round. They're going to lose to whatever team that is really good that we think is. They're going to go into New York and ruin every New York Jets fan's dream of a Super Bowl. And that's what I think is happening, because I think Aaron Rodgers he's so locked in that I think he's just going to have a monster season. But we know Aaron Rodgers in the playoffs, which nobody would like to admit, and people didn't start admitting until recently. They just ignored the other 10 years. But now we don't like him anymore. Oh, now he's not good in the playoffs. But whatever. He's just not the same guy in the playoffs. And I think, and now he has the Jet uniform. I think it's going to bleed into him a little bit. It's really, really ugly. I think it's going to be that Jets, where like Jets fans are going crazy. Every Jet fan's talking shit to you in a bar. It's going to be like that, and they're just going to have a terrible New York Jets loss in the second round. That's how I look at it.
Sai, you have an interesting take about how, and you maybe have some firsthand evidence at this, that maybe New York's not the best place for a hippie.
Yeah, so I lived in New York, upstate,
Bills territory,
Bills territory, close to the Bills, but it's hard it's like the hippie thing kind of clashes with the New York scene. That's the first thing I heard of when I heard of Rodgers going to New York. I was like, this is gonna live in New York City, dude. Is it like the air quality is gonna fuck with him week 6, dude? It'll be over, dude. He's gonna his ORAC, his antioxidant levels will plummet, dude. It's like. Yeah, it's like I don't know.
Can't go to a darkness retreat. You can't go to a darkness retreat either in New York. Yeah,
man, you're right.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. With Solly though, I agree with Mark, because I do think he's alpha, but he's not alpha. Like, he could be so much more. Mm-hmm. Like when I'm watching this hard, I'm like, man, what are you saying? He just seems like he's not quite. And I do like how he approaches the media, especially last year with all the Zach Wilson stuff. He's very alpha with the media shit. He handles it perfectly, which is a good sign. But yeah, I'm always just like, man, I know you got another 10% in you. Yeah. He's not digging deep enough for that.
I like his defensive coordinator a lot. I like that guy. That guy's super alpha to me. I love that guy. But with the gray beard, like, he's awesome. But yeah, you're right. It's that's all. All I'm saying is if their team. This isn't a hot take. I'm sure everybody thinks this way. The first 5 games for them, I think, determined Salah's job. If they start 1-4, Salah's gone.
Yeah,
he is, because I'm serious. It's not even like, I don't even know if he'll deserve it, but I just mean he'll be gone, because it's not going to be any Rodgers guys that go. Tell you that much. Like, it's just
2 years of Rodgers. They have Rodgers for 2 years. So
yeah. So if they start 4-1, then I think they're going to roll. I think they're going to roll, and they're going to keep going. And their defense, they can run the ball. They got a nice run game.
They play the Raiders this year, right?
I believe they play. The Raiders play back-to-back New York teams. Right, I believe. Yeah. I think one of them Sunday. I think one of them Sunday night. I can't remember. But anyways, next up.
Yeah, we got this is great. Patriots, Bill Belichick. Let's go.
This is easy. I mean, it's easy. This is the main alpha, man. The alpha coach, Bill Belichick.
Mm-hmm.
See, what I did this year, I read a book about the Patriots. I can't even really think of the name about it right now, but it's a really damn good book. I really wish I could think of the name, but it kind of breaks down everything that Bill Belichick does and how they run the Patriots way and all the crazy things, and how guys try to duplicate what he did when they leave, and how it kind of just blew up in their faces because they're not him. And there's like a little kind of a softer element that he like hides, that he kind of gets the players around, but he's still the ultimate alpha, because if you don't do what he wants, you're out of there. It doesn't matter who the hell you are. Like, Tom Brady was scared to get cut. That's why he used to practice so hard, because he knew that Bill Belichick didn't care that he's the best quarterback in the league. He might cut you at any moment, right? And trade you at any moment. Because it didn't matter, because you had to do things his way. That's why a lot of guys don't like him. Like, you hear like the Asante Samuels and some of those dudes, Darrelle Revis, they speak out against him because, the way he ran things. I mean, if you didn't show up on time, you didn't do these things, you didn't do what I wanted. I got this winning formula. This is how we do things. We do these things the exact way. But this one's pretty easy to me, because I always feel like Cliff Kingsbury is what girls think his alpha is, right? Bill Belichick is the real alpha.
Cliff Kingsbury. Wasn't he a Patriots quarterback at one point?
Yeah, he was.
He was. Yeah, very interesting. I'm sure there's a funny picture of them at camp together. That'd be funny. But no, I think. You know who else had a lot of his employees hate him, even though his art and product ended up being really good? Alfred Hitchcock. And guess who we care about more than any one actor that was ever in a Alfred Hitchcock movie? We care about Alfred Hitchcock more than all those guys. Everyone hated him. Everyone was like, man, this guy sucks. He's a pervert. He's weird. Guess what? I watched Vertigo and I loved it. So it's wonderful. You go to the Patriots, some weird shit might happen to you, but you know what? You go there because you think you can win, and you might, or other teams gave up on you. But Bill Belichick is like, hey, that draft bust. He's like the new Al Davis of the 70s, where it's like, hey, your draft bust, he can slide through on my team, and I'll rehabilitate him. That's great. But I'm not even looking at the machine. It's alpha. Of course it is. I will say, he could use a little more beta to him. And I'll say it this way. I don't know what he thought Matt Patricia was going to do on offense last year. That is such a, it doesn't matter. The system is the system. I'll bring this big NASA dork over here, the defensive guy, to recall my plays, and it'll be totally fine, because I think he needs a little more of but what if it doesn't work? He brought in Bill O'Brien this year. Yeah. I still don't love their team. Like, I don't love their offense, but I think Mac Jones is way better than what Twitter likes to do to Mac Jones. I think he's a lot better than that. How great, I don't know, but I think he had a good rookie season with Josh McDaniels. I think he'll have a good season with Bill O'Brien. It's the same system, right? He'll have a good season with them. Like, he'll have a good season, but a good season in the AFC might be 7-10. Like, it might be 7-10, like, and it could be like Mac Jones looked good. Their defense played okay, but they just lost to better teams, and like, he does, like, the Bills own them right now. I think the Jets could easily go in there and just pound them to oblivion. Last year, if you look at the Patriots wins, they beat Detroit, Arizona, bad Jets teams twice, I want to say, and like they didn't have very many quality wins last year. And he'll be alpha from the get-go. He'll be alpha forever, I think. But how long is he going to be their coach?
That's a good question too.
Yeah. That's what I get.
I want you to take the extra step close to him and jam him here.
What do you guys think about this? Is what I wanted to ask about the running backs. Zeke signing the 1-year deal, the spectrum of having like a main running back star versus splitting up the touches between like a veteran guy and Ramondre Stevenson, or how does that work with the scheme, Marcus, with especially like when this guy's in, they're going to be running these types of plays and vice versa. Like, I'm just curious your thoughts on that, on like spreading the touches around on running back.
So I think if you're going to do that, you need two different types of running backs. I think you get kind of what the Cowboys did. If you're going to split carries, you need a Tony Pollard and you need Ezekiel Elliott, right? So you got Tony Pollard, who's going to do all these things in between the 20s. You have Ezekiel Elliott, who's still going to find a way to get you 12 touchdowns, even though he's old and get 3.8 yards per carry. And even so, when they bring him in, the Patriots brought him in too. And to work with Stevenson. Stevenson's probably going to be that guy who's going to run in between the 20s, and then they bring in Zeke to kind of be a red zone, which is what Bill Belichick likes to do. He likes to have that kind of, like LeGarrette Blount had like 18 touchdowns for them like 1 year. Like, those are the type of things that he likes. He likes those big guys that can come in there in the red zone and short yardage and get some first downs. But I do think with like how running backs and how they look at them, just kind of a side rant, I think that a lot of this has to do with Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes. Why we're so anti-running back, because they don't need running backs, right?
Okay.
But just because those two don't need running backs doesn't mean that other people don't. We use them as an example, and then you like, here's the last guys who won Super Bowls without running backs. It's like Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, Patrick. Like, sure. It's just that's why the conversation gets stupid. But it's.
Yeah, when we get to the NFC, we'll figure out the teams that need running backs. Yeah,
all of them probably. Most of them.
Right, exactly. All right. Switching divisions.
AFC North, Bengals. Zach Taylor, go.
This one is gonna be different for me. I'm gonna alpha on this one. I think I'm gonna change my views on Zach Taylor. I think Zach Taylor. I think that team is an arrogant football team, and I think it's because of him. At the end of the day, I think it's Joe Burrow a little bit, but I think he pushes Joe Burrow to be arrogant. I think all of that, the team kind of has taken on his personality a little bit, because even in his press conferences, he talks a lot of shit, man. It's subtle, but he'll talk a lot of shit about other teams in kind of like subtle ways and kind of bring that young team up, because a lot of young guys over there is not a lot of older players, and I think he's that type of coach that could reach those young guys, and that's why they are a dominant football team right now. I think they're the best team in football. I think they were last year, but they just couldn't beat the best quarterback in football, because we'll get to the Chiefs in a second. But that's why I think he's kind of built that team around his personality. I think he's a great coach for them, so I think he's a great leader for those guys. Yeah, I think he's alpha. I think he's a little bit beta. We're like, the fishy thing, but I think he's took that step.
Yeah, I think this we have him as beta, but I get it. I think everything you said was true. But I think that's what's needed for this team, kind of a little bit, because there's dogs on this team. I mean, you like Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, that Lou Anarumo is awesome. If you've ever heard the defensive coordinator, he's my favorite defensive coordinator in football right now. I absolutely love him. I love the way they play defense. I think they have good players, but he's pretty much left on his own by Zach Taylor to just play good defense, and that's exactly what they do. There was a horrible late hit out of bounds which I'm not even saying referees. It was just a bad play by the player that got the Chiefs in field goal range. Otherwise, we might have had an overtime AFC Championship game, if I have that correctly. And that would have been excellent. I mean, that would have been excellent. Love Joe Burrow. Love what they do. Zach Taylor's a good coach, man. I didn't think he would be, but they do an excellent job drafting. Even just guys like Daxton Hill and just these good players that they just keep bringing in, like just Miles Murphy this year. They sat back and got Miles Murphy. I thought that was a great pick by them. Just all these, you see them just being smart. And I think a lot of times it's just because he just lets go, which is beta, but it's what's needed. You know, that's what I like. That's what I like about them. I agree that they're the best team in football. I do agree.
Does he call the plays? Most of the plays?
Yeah, he's a play caller. Yeah, he's a play caller. And he runs that. Was he run that like McVay kind of offense?
The McVay. This is the same guys. Callahan was under Gruden. And he's under those guys. Yeah. Same thing.
He's a baller, man. He's a baller. I mean, the Bengals, if they're not, I mean, we'll see about Burrow's calf if that's a thing all year. But if it's not, I mean, you don't want Trevor Siemian out there all year, because that's a whole different thing. But if it's Burrow, and you get a year's worth of Burrow, not only is he an MVP candidate every year, but they are a Super Bowl contender every year. So,
exactly.
Yeah. All right, next up.
All right, Browns, Kevin Stefanski.
Oh, man, this is easy for me. I'm going beta on this one. Kevin Stefanski. I don't like, what is like, is he even in control over there? They even run his offense. I don't even know what they're doing over there.
Are they a team? Are they real? I feel like that it's like AI football that's happening over there, and it's not real. Like every time I watch them, it's just not real. I watch them like that's from another year. I'm watching like a different team. Not that they're look, I'm in no room to talk about bad football. I just mean like it doesn't look like real football. Sorry, go on, but it's just insane.
Yeah, because even like, I mean, with the ownership over there, you know, they need like a more alpha coach who's going to kind of tell them that like no. Mm-hmm. Like, no, I don't want to trade for Deshaun Watson, ruin a whole half of my career waiting for him to start. And then is he even going to be the same guy, or is he going to be off mentally trying to, you know, make the perfect pass and prove everybody wrong because whatever happened with him, you know what I mean? So that's what kind of I am with Kevin Stefanski. I feel like he's just a dead man walking anyways. I don't even know why he's still there. They must have made some kind of deal. Like, we're going to trade for Deshaun Watson, and we're going to give you this free season because, you know, he's going to get suspended. It might be the whole year. So we're going to give you a free year. And he's just there, right? And, you know, even he couldn't handle Baker Mayfield. Him and Baker Mayfield had beef. Right?
That's beta.
All right, 6. Yo, let's have some fun. You trust those eyeballs, okay? And be you.
Yeah, right. You know, then Baker Mayfield goes to Sean McVay, and look, he's a superstar, but he got a job now, right? He got a job in Tampa, and it worked. Mm-hmm. He looked a lot better with Sean McVay because that's a different type of head coach, different dynamic, and I think that shows a lot with Kevin Stefanski. If you can't, a player like Baker Mayfield, and that's why a coach like Lincoln Riley, he can handle all those personalities, right? Mm. But Kevin Stefanski can't. So,
yeah. Oh, and. The elephant in the room is you have Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson is a different kind of guy. Let's just say that much. and if you're an alpha, what you do is like, because what I saw from Deshaun Watson last year, I think we called it. I was like, I don't know if that a guy that hasn't played football in a long time and is going through like a legal nightmare. I don't know how good of shape he's in and how good of football he's going to play. And it was not good last year. He didn't look good. Reports out of preseason right now. Again, we're recording this on August 22nd, so it's probably gonna come out next week. So it could be a whole nother news cycle that we missed. But for the most part, it doesn't sound like Browns camp sounds very optimistic about the way Deshaun Watson's playing. So if you're Kevin Stefanski, what you need to do is go up and be like, Deshaun, what do we got to do? And then Deshaun goes, Coach, you really don't know? And All right, I'll leave it at there. But you know, what she got it, you know, you got to make this more work. Clear. This has to work. Is all I'm saying. Stefanski, your job is on the line. Again, I forgot. I when I was writing the coaches' names down, I was like, no, the Browns have a different coach. I'm like, oh no, they have the same guy. They have the same guy.
Year 4, bro. Year 4.
Yeah. And then you have like these like emo guys, like Amari Cooper as your wide receiver, where he played well last year, but the first year of Amari Cooper is always amazing. Then it just gets progressively like he starts more book clubs. I have a book club. It's not alpha. I'll tell you that much. Like I have a book club, but my wide receivers shouldn't have one. And then I like some of the players they have. It's not that I don't think their roster's horrible, but man, DTR season. That's all I'm gonna say. We'll find out if Stefanski's alpha if the first 3 games DTR's out there because he is playing good football in preseason. So
DTR, dude, he's sick.
What if I mean, look, I'm just saying, like you can run similar shit for him as you do for Deshaun Watson.
Yeah,
you might even get a fresher pair of legs doing it. And like I said, maybe he doesn't require the assistance that Deshaun Watson needs. You might need to be coached a little more, but might not require the same assistance because all I'm saying is Deshaun Watson had a method, I guess.
I guess so, man.
I guess he had a method. I mean, look, Wade Boggs used to eat chicken before every baseball game. Everyone's weird, I guess. And you know, so anyways, next up.
All right. I'm interested in this one. This is kind of my darling long shot team this year. I'm interested to see all the changes that have happened. We got the Ravens, John Harbaugh. What do you guys think?
I mean, John Harbaugh's always be alpha to me. I just think special teams coach. He's that type of thing. We're gonna win in the preseason. We're gonna try to do all these other things that he likes to do. I really feel like that. It's pretty simple with him that he's just kind of just an ultimate leader with how this team. The team they haven't lost. They don't lose with him. They always find a way to get into the playoffs no matter what. Most of the time, even with who matters the quarterback. They went from Joe Flacco to Lamar Jackson. He built that team around Lamar Jackson. Yeah. And they always play great defense over there, and they're always going to run the ball. They're always going to do a lot of those old school things, and he's always going to find a way. So you always feel comfortable with the Ravens. If you're a Ravens fan, you always believe that you're going to go to the playoffs. You're going to compete because you have that coach, you have the quarterback. You're already ready to go. So I think it's a pretty easy alpha, in my opinion.
Yeah. Before I go, how do you feel about what's this Todd Monken thing? People have been really pushing the Todd Monken thing on me. Should I buy it?
We're going to figure out if Lamar Jackson is the passer that honestly I think he can be.
Yeah.
But we're going to find out because I think they're going to pass. Because Todd Monken, they're probably just run like a lot what they did in Georgia, right? So Stetson Bennett, he did a lot of the zone reads, right? So they're going to do a lot of the concepts they ran at Georgia and kind of bring that into it, and a lot of shotgun. He's probably not going to be under center a lot, and they're going to do a lot of college spread stuff, right? And kind of mix it up that way. Because I think that's why they brought him in, because I think that type of system would fit for Lamar Jackson. But we're going to find out about him if he could throw the ball more than 500 times. That's what we're going to find out this year. Yeah.
This is that year. This is this show and prove year, kind of like the Bills last year or something. They got to make something happen this year.
And people are kind of down on them. They definitely look. Lamar's going to have to stay healthy. I think that's on him. Ultimately, is like you're going to have to become a little bit more of just like a quarterback, not because nobody wants you to run, but you got to play 16 games. 17 games, excuse me. You got to play 17 games. 16 would be fine too. You can miss one game. That's fine.
Yeah.
You got to play a lot of games. We cannot have Tyler Huntley. I don't hate Tyler Huntley, but he's in the AFC this year. A full season of Lamar Jackson. I really like Zay Flowers. I loved him coming out. He's looks really good, and that could be kind of scary if he's that kind of bubble screen, short, intermediate ones that develops into like an all-purpose wide receiver. That could be scary. Odell, you never know. I mean, Odell's kind of like in the Von Miller role now, where it's like maybe the second half of the year we get the Odell that's just like, making big plays and stuff. You never know there. Mark Andrews still, top 5 tight end, I would say, and their defense is young, and I think they're going to be okay. I think if I had one thing about them, it would be pass rush. But again, the Ravens find a way. They find a way because of Harbaugh. Harbaugh's awesome. And again, I say it every single year. special teams coach to head coach is the most alpha move ever. Like, because every alpha head coach loves special teams.
Yeah,
exactly.
Even if you don't coach them, you're like, I love special teams
psycho
so much.
Shit, dude. It's psycho.
It's important.
Yeah.
It's important.
Grinding special teams tape is like real schizo shit, and it's like that's cool. You know, like they all tip their cap to him secretly. Like, that's sick that you went that you weren't Joe Judge in the situation. You're good and you're special teams guy. So.
Harbaugh reminds me of our high school coach too.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, EB, dude. EB. Yeah, we had. So I think one thing I will say is, like, this division really good.
Yeah,
like really good.
I know, it's nuts.
Really good. And we haven't even talked about the team that I think everybody should be scared of in this division. That's going to be next. But like the Ravens, they could win. I wouldn't be surprised. Like I think Cincinnati is on paper the best team in football right now. But like if the Ravens win the division, I'm not going to be shocked.
No, I wouldn't either.
Like it could happen. And this division's so cool because if you're a gambler, like there's no way to gamble this division. Every time these teams play each other, it's just weird. And it feels like all the players swap uniforms and just play for the other team. And you're like, why is Anthony Schwartz scoring a touchdown in this game? Like, I thought all these weird things happen. It's a crazy division. But yeah, watch out for the Ravens this year. I'm back. I think I'm back. I was a little down on Lamar last year. I think I'm back. I'm back. So next up.
All right. Steelers, Mike Tomlin coming off is finishing over 500 for the fucking 4 millionth year in a row last year.
He can't go under 500. He can't do it.
Insane. I think that's just my immediate take right there. But go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, Tomlin's an alpha man because, those personalities he handled them. I think AB is the perfect example why he's an alpha, because AB, we don't even know what he's doing with his life right now. Since he left Mike Tomlin, his life has just went to complete shit. So, we see him just like he turned to a rapper. He left Mike Tomlin and now he's a rapper doing festivals. So
you'll never work in this town again. You'll never get work in this town again, AB.
Yeah, right. So that that can explain Tomlin.
AB's at Rock the Bells this year.
Yeah, for sure, dog.
Oh yeah.
But Tomlin just finds a way, man. I mean, they just start playing defense all the time. They're always gonna play great defense over there. He's a great defensive guy, and they're gonna play the same type of football, the same type of thing. Kenny Pickett's basically the same type of quarterback. He's gonna be clutch. He's not gonna turn the ball over, and it's just Steelers football. It's like he keeps the mystique with it, and I think that's why they keep him as a coach for so long too. Because some coaches would have been fired by now.
Yeah.
But I think the Steelers are still like, we're the Steelers, and they have to bring somebody in that kind of has that mystique with it. And I think it's gonna be a little bit harder to find these days than it would be, because Dan Campbell, he's with the Lions. They can't go hire Dan Campbell to come be Steelers head coach. So they have to kind of figure that out. But that's why I think Tomlin's still there a little bit, because I think he's like, that mystique comes with it, and you're not gonna find it anywhere else really.
I think this team. The only reason I think they might not be that good is because of the division and just the conference. But first off, I think they had about as good of an offseason as anybody could have, and their draft I thought was, in my opinion, amazing.
Who'd they get?
They get Broderick Jones the first round, Joey Porter Jr. legacy thing, classic Steelers thing. He's a good corner as well.
Yeah.
And then Darnell Washington. They got some ball players, man. Like they got some ball players, the guys that they need. Marcus and I, when we did that wide receiver special, neither of us were big on George Pickens. He looks good. He looks like he's a good ball player.
Yeah.
They have some guys there. I'm not big on Najee Harris. That's the one thing that's kind of he's just slow. I don't know.
I think Ezekiel Elliott's so faster than him.
Yeah, I know. It's like, it's crazy. I don't understand. He's like a Bay Area legend, so I can't really hate too much, but
he's cool, like, dude. Seems cool,
it's just like, is there quicksand at Hyde's Field for only him? Is what I'm wondering. Like a beach workout is what it looks like. I just wonder.
Don't blink. I ain't blinking. Don't you blink. Let's go. Hey, you blink, I'll cut your eyelids off. Don't you blink. I got you. Let's go.
Tomlin's an alpha. He's amazing. I think he's pound for pound the best coach in football. Like Belichick has this like crazy cabal of like Robert Kraft. Like he's like this entity that comes from like, that failed at all these other places, fired prematurely, and then is here. Like Tomlin is just like his first shot was Pittsburgh, and he's just Pittsburgh. That's what he is. He's great. I'll tell you this way: if you're a player that maybe you're a high price free agent and you had a down year, Mike McDaniel comes up to you and says, "Hey, you need to get in better shape. Hit the weight room." You probably go, "What?" You throw him in a locker or something like that, right? Mike Tomlin comes up and tells you need to hit the weight room. You hit the weight room. He goes with you. Yeah. And it's like he's just that type of guy. I think you're totally right about Kenny Pickett. I don't love Kenny Pickett, but I love him on the Steelers. It's weird. Like he's just he's a Steeler quarter. Your quarterback can't be that good on the Steelers. You're not allowed to be like an amazing quarterback for the Steelers. And that's like if they had Mahomes, I feel like something weird would happen and they just wouldn't win anything. Yeah. But Kenny Pickett could win like 3 Super Bowls for Pittsburgh and I wouldn't be shocked. Like just amazing. Like and like that's not even shortchanging or anything. I think Pittsburgh's going to eat him just completely. They're going to love him. I think I'm telling you, this team is good. And TJ Watt, if they can somehow get TJ Watt healthy for the whole year, it hasn't happened in a while. But if he's healthy the whole year, this is a good team. This is a good team. I would and Hayward, bro. I'd have to look at the schedule, but if since he's trying to clinch the division, and like let's say even Pittsburgh's like maybe just trying to get into a wild card, that is like the worst opponent you could have late in the year is a team like that, well coached, physical, that can beat your ass. Like, and I love him. I'll always love Tomlin. I have fantasies of him just somehow being fired for something and then him coming to Vegas. I've always had fantasies about it. It won't happen.
I like that thing last year where Pat McAfee's like, "Hey, Mike Tomlin, you want to come on my show on a Thursday?" And he's like, "Fuck no, dude. We're busy, dude. We got to win on Sunday." And he's like, "Oh, sorry."
Yeah. Do you think he does those weird preseason mic'd up things that none of the coaches ever want to do? He probably. I'll have to ask Zach Morrissey on our Discord. I'll have to ask him, does he do that? Because I feel like he would just rip the headset off or just pretend it's on and not say anything. Because it's just insane. He's the best. All right, next division.
Yeah, AFC South, Colts, Shane Steichen.
All right. I'm gonna go beta just for this one. Just a little bit, just come from where he came from a little bit with kind of that head coach. I think we'll get to him later on. But I just think the culture that they have with the Eagles is just a little weird. Just a kind of I don't want to say this, kind of like we just have really good players. So I can just kind of look a little bit better than maybe I actually am. And we'll see how he kind of gravitates to this team. But, I haven't really heard anything that kind of got me hyped for the Colts season or anything that kind of seen him around or big speeches or anything he's really said. So I think he just got the job because he's an offensive coordinator. We want offensive coaches. And I don't know if he's that much of a leader type of thing. So I'm going beta early on because he got to prove to me a little bit that he could coach. I'm not really sold on Shane Steichen yet.
It's weird. I'm going to say alpha because I actually kind of like that he's just like, you look at the Jonathan Taylor thing. He comes in immediately and you can tell he knows that whatever running back he does have, he could, with Anthony Richardson, he can get 6 yards of carry out of me. Yeah. Right? Because you have that quarterback threat. They can't really stack the box. The edge can't crash every single time. And that then leads to probably a better run game, and you figure you don't need to pay Jonathan Taylor. Again, we don't love it as fans, but it's probably smart. It's probably smart, especially coming off a little bit of a down year for Taylor. He is coming from that Philly system where he's going from a guy where Howie Roseman drafts and future proofs his team 3 years in advance to where you never really have to go into free agency and fill the needs. You can actually make huge trades and go get AJ Brown if you want to, all these things. And the Colts are weird. I don't think they have a bad roster, but every time I watch the Colts and then I always feel like whoever goes there loses 5 Madden points on their speed. I just they just don't look fast. You watch them, it's it just doesn't look right. I don't know what and they're a fine team. They're okay. It's not they're not bad. They're very similar to the Browns in a sense where I'm this doesn't feel real, but they're getting an extremely exciting player in Anthony Richardson. Yeah, I love Anthony Richardson. I had said it before. He was my quarterback 1 in the draft. That was the one I would risk it all in the draft for, is just because of the upside. I don't know if I expect that to be year 1. If it is, Shane Steichen, monster alpha, if that's the case. Because a lot of that's like, well, look what he did with Hurts. It's like, no, look what he did with Hurts with Jason Kelsey, Lane Johnson, like all these guys, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, great defense, 55 sacks from their defense last year. There's a lot of stuff happened there. It wasn't just Shane Steichen. So I got to see it. I got to see if it's good year one, and they have a very short path to the playoffs if they want to be good this year. So
is Richardson starting for real?
They crowned him.
Sick.
Gardner Minshew is not starting, which like Todd Bowles, if he was coaching the Colts, Gardner Minshew starting.
Yeah,
shut up, rookie. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care what we did to get you. You're nothing. Yeah, you know what I mean. But no, it's all. He's got his guy. You're gonna know early, I think, with Shane Steichen. Like, he's got his guy. You'll know within a year if it's gonna work or not. So, next up,
right. Jaguars, Doug Peterson.
All right, Doug Peterson, alpha. I think Doug Peterson is a big time alpha, big time leader. That team went from last to first place, and that kind of shows, everything that you need to know about that. So I think Doug Peterson, he had that problem with Carson Wentz, and I think this because he pushed back on Carson Wentz a lot. I think he didn't play with what Carson Wentz was trying to do because Carson Wentz, obviously his personality with how he has mixed with other guys and how Frank Reich had to like kind of baby him a little bit, be a little bit of a baby, that you could tell how he didn't get along with Carson Wentz for a reason, probably because he was kind of a little harder on him. And then you can see how Trevor Lawrence has responded, just how that team has responded to him and all the play calling and all that thing. I still think he's a little bit up and down of a play caller. I think he had some great play calls last year, but I feel like teams are going to start to adjust it to him. So I wonder how that's going to keep up, because that's what happened with him in Philly. At first, when he first came in the team, we're like, oh my God, he's such a great play caller. And then when he was leaving Philly, we're like, oh, he's not that good. So I think that's I think he's still up and down, consistent there. But I think as a leader of a football team, I think he's there, man. He's obviously, he went to Jacksonville. They changed it a whole year. And that's a big thing.
Yeah. Yeah, and they're not good at drafting football players either. That's one thing I'll say about like Jacksonville. Like Lawrence was slam dunk. That took no thinking, but like Trayvon Walker, we'll see. I do, guys like that, we'll see. It's not where I would have gone, and it's not where a lot of people would have gone, and it was a rather surprise rise for that. Yeah, they have Trent Baalke, who's, ask any 49er fan what Trent Baalke does. It's not great usually, and but I think he does a lot. I think Lawrence is one of those guys that I think now everybody realizes that Trevor Lawrence is good. I think when he got drafted, people expected Peyton Manning, Andrew Luck type stuff. And maybe he has the same traits a little bit, but it doesn't, I think he's still a little step below them, but he was really good at the end of last year. I thought he was just excellent at the end of last year. They started really slow. I think Peterson's good. He's one of those guys that gets like that, like Mark Jackson treatment from Philadelphia, like where Mark Jackson, as soon as he gets fired, like the Warriors start winning a bunch of titles. Doug Peterson coached, I think, was it like the COVID year was his last year, and they kind of tanked a little bit that year, like starting I forget who that, Nate Sudfeld, like week 17, like they were in that. There was kind of like a let's get Doug out of here kind of moment, and let's get our new regime in. And I'd like to see him do a little bit better in Jacksonville. He is obviously clearly doing better in Jacksonville already, just for what they require out of their coaches. He's already doing it. I think they're favorite. They got to be favorites in this division. I think. I mean, you got
they have Trevor Lawrence.
They have Trevor Lawrence. The one thing that I'm just I think the player's good, but I kind of cool off on the Calvin Ridley thing. I want to see him play football again. I can't remember the last time I saw Calvin Ridley play football.
I think with Lawrence, Lawrence kind of just took a step like mid-season, and he just became a totally different quarterback. You watch him the first 8 weeks, it really is nothing special. But the last weeks, it's just some throws, man. He just looks like
he's just insane.
And then that's why people are on his jock right now. Because the thing with Lawrence and why this team could maybe fall apart is he has fumbleitis. He fumbles a lot, and we know Derek Carr. We're It is very similar. You hit him, he fumbles.
Wow, he's big too.
It was in college too, and it kind of just carried over the NFL. He had 9 lost fumbles last year. Then he had like 8 the year before, so he still had 17 turnovers last year. So it is because I watch the quarterbacks. I do like a little rating whatever. And when I watched him, that was my biggest thing. Is like, the film is top 10, but can he really beat Patrick Mahomes if he fumbles like this? So that, like that's his view of Jacksonville. And there's not a lot of luck in that team either. They're not the most luckiest football teams ever.
No, they're
so
not.
If he could just have those games where they end up losing games because he's fumbling or throwing interception. So that's the thing with Trevor Lawrence. It's gonna be interesting to see how it goes forward, because literally if you hit him at the right time, the ball's coming out.
Yeah, I mean, you got to eat, and there's definitely weapons. He can get rid of the ball quick. He can hold the ball and make plays. There's a lot. You can hold the ball, make a big play to Calvin Ridley, who, like I said, I got to see him play again. I just, to me, there's this hype for Calvin Ridley that I'm like, he was very good the last time he played, but like immediately just putting him back in like a top 10 wide receiver thing, which I see some people doing, I would chill for a sec, just for a little bit. Let's see it happen with a new system with coming, I mean, he should chill, no parlays for him this year, but I think he's very good, but like people are like really going to put him in that Jamar Chase. Like let's relax a little bit. Evan Ingram is still very good for them. He had a really nice resurgence for them. If their O-line is not great, but if it can kind of,
and ETN is really good.
ETN is awesome. I mean, he is really good. So they just need to they have this division is the one quick path in the AFC. The easiest path in the AFC to sneak into the playoffs is through this division. So it's Jacksonville's to lose this year. Last year they came from nowhere, but when people expect you, right after that epic classic thing, which we'll get to with the Chargers when we talk about the Chargers, after that comeback, that was amazing. So what can you do for me now? That's what I want to see, Mr. Peterson. What can you do? Next up,
Texans, DeMeco Ryans.
I'm gonna go alpha with DeMeco Ryans, just because there's just the mentality he has. I don't think I've ever seen him smile. So it's been a while since I've seen that. And then just he was a linebacker too, and I still think they're gonna have that mentality when they play. And I think the team's gonna actually probably be better than we think. I'm not gonna say they're gonna win like 7 games or something. They're probably like a 6-5 win team instead of being one of the worst teams in the league. So I think they're going to play better defense. I think that, they got some good defensive pieces over there that are really young that they could really build with, especially like Jalen Petre and, Singletary over there. I think those are 2 key pieces in the secondary they can build with. And he can move those guys around and really use them, get the defensive line going. So I think just as the type of player he is and the type of guy he is, and I see him, and like I said, I still haven't seen him smile. Yeah, and just some of the things he says about CJ Stroud and the quarterbacks, I can tell he doesn't like him. I can tell he doesn't like his quarterback, and he was like, "You have to draft Will Anderson too. You better trade back up, because if you don't give me Will Anderson, I'm gonna be pissed." And I think he got some alpha in him for sure.
Yeah, linebacker coach is awesome. That's fucking. Yeah. That's not a bad sign. Not a bad start.
Right? I loved him when he played. Yeah. He was awesome when he played.
He played for Texans and the Eagles.
He played for the Texans. Yeah, right?
Okay,
Texans and Eagles. He was a heck of a player. Right. And with him, I'm struggling. He's clearly an alpha. I'm trying to figure out if he's good. Because good scheme. Really liked what he did with the Niners, but again, he does not have the same personnel that he has with the Niners. He doesn't. He's building it. I think he's building it, but he doesn't have that trade that they did. Was the weirdest thing I've ever seen. Like it got. I think people have kind of forgotten about it a little bit. I think at the time, it would stop the world of NFL. Like so if anyone who doesn't know, the Houston Texans had the 2nd overall pick. They picked CJ Stroud. I have my thoughts about CJ Stroud. I think he's just okay, but whatever. I understood it. And then instead of just waiting for their next 2nd round pick, which would have been essentially almost a 1st round pick, because they were picking so high, they decided to trade the farm to get back up to number 3 with the Cardinals for a defensive end named Will Anderson. Okay, Will Anderson probably is very good, but they gave up their next year's 1st round pick. The Houston Texans, Marcus thinks that if they're good, they will win 6 games. Like if they have a good year, which I agree. 6 wins probably gets you like the 8th overall pick, the 9th overall pick. Giving up. Let's say they have an average year.
Yeah.
Where they win 3 games. The Arizona Cardinals could then have 2 top 3 picks. 2 top 5 picks. Where they could then go Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison Jr., which would be insane. And I would do it. But you then caused that by trying to get Will Anderson. That's alpha because your defensive coach, you're like, this is how I win. I got my defensive end. I have the next JJ Watt. Shut up.
Yeah.
But I'm like, why'd you guys do that? I was kind of laughing because Marcus always has really funny Cardinals takes. So I was like, they might actually be good because of this.
Yeah.
They might become a good team.
That's funny.
What did you do, Houston? What did you do?
Yeah, that's funny. Pendulum's got to swing some point, man. Yeah,
it does. Something.
Man. Yeah, man.
Dude. Yeah.
All right. Next up.
Oh yeah, we got Titans Mike Vrabel.
This is easy, man. This is alpha, dude. This is I think he's kind of like the next kind of Mike Tomlin guy. I think he's gonna be the Titans for a while. Forever. Because I mean, even last year, they lost the last 7 games. They lost Ryan Tannehill, so they kind of went downhill after that. But I mean, they're surprising everybody. Nobody thought they were gonna be good last year. And then they almost, to me, if you watch the Chiefs game, they played the Chiefs, man. They found a way to dominate the Chiefs over there. So he's just a great defensive coach. I think he's a great head coach. But his mentality too, they play with the mentality he likes to play with. And he doesn't count like as a Belichick guy, but I mean he still kind of runs it like a more cooler Belichick, right? Kind of like a more upbeat, more like a little bit of a douchebag, more Belichick type of thing. That's why he's on like busting with the boys, and he's like getting all in with those kind of guys and those Will Compton types, because that's kind of like what he is. He's like a Bill Belichick, Will Compton. So that personality, that's how you get the younger guys to get behind you too, right? Because you can mess around, you can stick with those, and you can also get veteran players to come in and respect you as well. So there's the respect he takes. I like the way he treated Malik Willis too. Like, we're not gonna baby you or anything like that. You got to make the right plays to get out there. So
had some better pockets with pads on. They looked like a shit through a brass horn the first couple of days, and I think it's been better with pads on.
Yeah, no, he's an alpha, probably perennial alpha. He's one of those guys that's record proof on his alpha rating. Like a record doesn't do anything for his rating. I love him. They're another one of those teams. They will go 9-8 this year. I won't be surprised. I don't know. I have no way to tell you how they go 9-8. The reason is because they're well coached. It would be because they're well coached. I mean, but even then, let's think about it like this, right? You could get Ryan Tannehill. I'm a Tannehill guy. I like Ryan Tannehill. I think he's so much better than people think. If he comes back and just plays like average Ryan Tannehill, which isn't, that's not out of the question.
Yeah,
they got DeAndre Hopkins, which I thought was a nice move. They Treylon Burks in his second year stays healthy. I think he's he could end up being okay. Derrick Henry, we'll see. But what if you get like another good season out of Derrick Henry? And then whatever Mike Vrabel does to put together that defense out of nothing, like they have some good play. Jeffrey Simmons is great, but other than that, it's like you look at it's always just a revolving door of like weird USC corners that like and these random like free agents that like nobody would ever give the money to that Tennessee gives to. Like, their front office stinks. I think they might have a new guy didn't they get a new guy this year?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
okay. Finally they got a new guy. For a while, it was like they were just like garbage, like just terrible. Like
they let AJ Brown go, bro. Like they
let AJ Brown go, and just all these they really put him behind the 8 ball. And there was a year we're not far removed from them being like the number 1 seed. Like it was there, and the same guys are pretty much there. I'm not. I think they're a 7-10 team this year, but like if they would go 9-8, I'm not and sneak in on some weird like Trevor Lawrence fumbles 8 times in the final game of Titans win 10-3. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Go to the playoffs. Yeah. Mike Vrabel in his vest and his khakis getting up, like just busting through them. Come on, we know it can happen.
If Josh Dobbs didn't throw that pick 6 last year, they make the playoffs and beat the Jets.
Isn't that crazy? Yeah. It's just like they still almost got there. And the way people talk about them, it's like they stink. Like they're just like, oh, just downtrodden, horrible franchise. It's like, no, it's because of their uniforms. They need new uniforms. They need to go back to the Oilers. Mm-hmm. Their uniforms are god awful, worst in the league. Go back to they should be the Oilers. They're
never on national TV either. That's what the big thing.
Yeah,
they're never on national TV.
None of them. Yeah, like some team should be the Oilers. I said this last year. Somebody needs to be the Oilers. Houston Texans, Tennessee Titans, coin flip game, or whoever wins. Whoever wins their second matchup this year should get to be the Oilers again. So that's the way but like you said, I said climate change. It's a bad thing. It's bad look.
Exactly.
But all right, next up.
All right, here we go. AFC West.
Here we go.
Broncos Sean Payton.
Okay.
Yeah.
I gotta go Alpha for Sean Payton just because he got rid of Russell Wilson's a little room and came in there and told Russell that you're not gonna do all these stupid things that you're doing.
Lay down the law.
Like, lay down the law. You know, I think they're gonna switch up the offense a little bit, and you know, I know Glenn's lower on the Broncos than I am, but I just think because Sean Payton's just a good coach, and I think what they're going to do with Russell Wilson, I think they're going to make him more into Taysom Hill type of thing. They're going to get that last year legs out of him, and they're going to mix it up a little bit and kind of. You got Drew Brees coming in, they're trying to get the offense kind of built around like what Russ likes to do, and I think Payton's going to make it work that way. And but we'll see with him. I think he's just a good head coach because even if we keep it real, I mean, Drew Brees was. I mean, he's a good quarterback. But I think a little bit of Sean Payton's system and how he built it around him is why he became the quarterback that he became. So I think there's a little bit element of that, and I think that's why Russ is really bought into what he's doing, and he's just kind of just took the back role and just hoping that he makes him into Drew Brees like he always dreamed, that him and Sierra could run off and he can have those. You know, he can have that MVP or something, whatever he wants. So, but you know, I'm not gonna take it that far. But I think Payton came in there and kind of laid the law, and kind of I think he's that type of good dude for sure.
He is a better coach. He is an alpha. I think the Broncos gained 2 wins. With that. Hey, that's a lot. Yeah. That's a lot. 2 wins. Hey, if I told you could be 2 wins better than last year, you'd take it every time, right?
Yeah.
But I just think Wilson's cooked. I mean, like we saw the end of Drew Brees, like the last years of Drew Brees. There's just only so much scheming you can do. I think he's cooked. And Brees didn't require as much leg, extending the play as Russell Wilson. I also don't think their defense is that good. Like the Broncos, they were good last year. But they lost Draymond Jones. They lost a lot of beef up front. Mm-hmm. They lost a lot. And they got, these Nick Bonito, like these new guys. So it's like maybe the Raiders could drop like 220 rushing yards on them, like again for like the 8th straight year. Like that could happen. Sean Payton, I will say this, he's an alpha, but you better not have a bad year this year, because that Nathaniel Hackett quote, that's a bold claim. That's a bold claim. It's alpha, but I'm looking at that roster and I'm like, hey, look, when he was his last years with the Saints, their division wasn't that good. So he could like almost sneak them into the playoffs. That's not happening in the West. So you have to like win 10, 11 games this year if you're going to be coming out in the West, even as a wild card, maybe. Like you have to do that. And I don't know that I see that like worst to first kind of thing out of the Broncos, because I don't think personnel wise they've upgraded all that much. They have the most overrated wide receiver core, I think, in history. And I don't think, everyone talks about how great Javonte Williams is. I'll try to find the film because there's like 5 clips of him running the ball with an intact ACL. So we'll see. But I don't think they're that good. He's a good coach. But the problem is they had to trade a 1st-round pick to go get another coach. Like, that's insane.
It's wild. Yeah, I think it's crazy.
Yeah.
He ain't that great of a coach.
Man,
but you don't agree. You don't agree. You think what's their record this year in your opinion? Like, what do you think? With 8 games, 9 games?
Maybe probably like 7.
Oh, okay. So not that good. You don't think they're gonna be that good then? Okay.
No, the AFC's crazy. Hell no.
Yeah. Gotcha. Okay.
It also seems like he's acting differently than the Sean Payton I remember pre-retirement, back when he was.
Seems a little desperate. Seems a little more desperate.
Yeah. Seems a little. Yeah. I don't like it as much. I think I'm a little more scared of him than you are, Glenn, in terms of being in the division and shit. But I don't know. It's like you said, he better win, because it's like it's hard to turn. He's almost just assuming that he's going to turn this team around, which again, that's kind of what you have to do as a football player. And
right. But you keep that in house. You keep that in house. Like you go in there and say the guy before me stunk and all that stuff. It's like, what if you win one more game than him? In your first year?
That's what I'm saying.
Like, because it might happen. And also, I'll say this. Sean Payton is a good coach. If he was coaching the Chargers this year, I'd be mortified. I don't think the Broncos are that good. Jerry Jeudy does nothing for me. Yeah. I said, his name should be Judy Jerry until he learns how to be good at football.
They literally have no more wide receivers. All the wide receivers are hurt. So that's why I went to 7 wins.
Year 10 of Tim Patrick. Ooh, how unfortunate he's not going to play again. But he's very good. Poor KJ Hamler. That was sad.
He got cut. Did he get cut or something?
Yeah, but he had a heart issue, which we'll get into that now. But yeah. But anyways, like that's sad. That's really sad. I thought he was actually kind of, he had a little something to him. But like. Greg Dulcich. So you're telling me Russell Wilson and Greg Dulcich are winning the AFC West? Greg Dulcich. That's what you're telling me. Like that's what you're telling me. You better put Bounty Gate back on and not get caught. That's all I'm gonna say. You
better
Broncos
Hard Knocks next year.
Now you're talking because I would love Sean Payton on Hard Knocks. So anyways,
who's next? Who we got?
We got Chargers. Brandon Staley. Let's go.
Staley's mad beta. The thing is with Staley though. I think Staley, and I think that's why the Chargers didn't win, because the most beta move is him being happy with Joe Lombardi's job year one, and we all, everybody else could see it. We all could see what was going to happen with the offense last year, but he didn't see it, right? Yeah. And and they still, they play like that soft defense. They don't stop to run that well. It's just a lot of things I don't like. I think it's just too positive. Like, you're overly positive, bro. Like, give me some bad things. You're like, you watch a press conference, like, he just never says anything bad. We did a great job. Everything worked out. Everything's perfect. We did everything what we needed to do, but just everything. Some things just go our way. Like, nah, man. Like, we need you to be, out there. But some players like him. They like playing with him. But I don't know. I just think he's a little bit too positive, and I think the team kind of takes that personality. Like, they're all positive, and Justin Herbert's super positive, and he's Mr. Whatever. So we'll see.
Yeah, as another guy like Stefanski, where I was like, man, he's still the coach. You know what I mean? Like, he's still the coach of this team. Like, you've paid Herbert. Herbert's getting what, $262 million now? Yeah, big money. Look, I've had my reservations about Herbert, but he's objectively a very good player, and I say this is someone who drafted him round 7 of my fantasy league the other night. So he's objectively a good player. Is he elite? He absolutely could be, but when I mean is elite as far as like generational, that's where I'm a little weird. And it's nothing that he can't do himself. Like, I keep hearing this Lombardi this, Lombardi that. What is stopping this 6'6" Adonis freak from just breaking the pocket and making a huge play on his own? You were up 27-7 in a playoff game or something like that. You go win that game, Justin Herbert. Put it away.
Yeah,
Patrick Mahomes always finds a way. Stop. Oh, Joe Lombardi, you're up 27-7. Win the game.
Win the game.
Run around. Just run around, dude.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like, literally, I mean, there's always those stats where the guys could just kneel like 7 times and like actually be more productive than like what they do. Sometimes, like, I feel like that's what they could have done. And it's this idea of like, okay, Staley's gone if the Chargers start slow this year, but they never actually do. So he always like seems to just survive the whole year by like starting kind of fast and dying out at the end of the year. It's very alpha, in my opinion. I also think that defensive coaches that love their quarterback, and he clearly does, it's a little, he loves him too much. You need to love Derwin James more than your quarterback, sir.
They're the perfect match for each other, aren't they? They're the perfect, like, they go together.
He does yoga on camera before the game. Like, it's for a defensive guy. It's okay if you're like a quarterback's coach doing that. That's fine. Wide receivers coach.
He's doing the cat cow, dude. The fucking
dude, he should. You got to be living like a defensive coordinator. If you're gonna work out, you either run bleachers or lift like Home Depot quickcrete. Like, you know what I mean? Like, just like stuff like random objects that aren't even weights. That's what you should be doing. But he's I don't know. I don't know how he survives the year, but he always seems to. So he's Teflon Brandon once again. So
also, like the AFC, I feel like the beta guys stand out more in the AFC. Tough coaching conference, dude. There's a lot of it's A for a reason.
And the way he loses, it's never just like, oh, we got our backs blown out by so and so. It's always like, no, we were like up 30-20 with 2 possessions left, and we just lost by 2 scores. So you're like, how? Yeah, it's like always like that. So it's just, and you're a defensive coach, like it's just too many things where it's like you have. What more do you need? And they draft Quentin Johnson. They have all these guys that like should be good, and like Austin Eckler, Brayshawn Slater. I mean, these guys should be good, but they just never. They made the playoffs last year, but that was you almost win. If you're a Charger fan, you wish you didn't make the playoffs last year. I'll say that much. Like, that was bad. Yeah. So all right, next up.
Kansas City Chiefs, Andy Reid.
I hate him so much.
Andy's an alpha. Andy's a big time alpha, man. It's he doesn't even have to be an alpha anymore. He's kind of just sits back and just eats and lets Patrick Mahomes run the offense. So, but he's controlled all those personalities too. Because I think that team. I think Travis Kelce, I really feel like if Travis Kelce was on the team with the wrong coach, that he just wouldn't be as good as he is, but just because of his personality and just like he's a little bit of a wild card, right? He can do whatever he wants. It's like he did a TV show, like he you know, all this other stupid stuff that if he was in the wrong coaching environment, which is why he fell in the draft in the first place, right? I don't know if he would be the same player he is. And I think that's why Andy Reid is a really great coach. Even all the other players that he's had over there, he's been able to control. Like Deshaun Jackson had no problems with nobody while he was with Andy Reid. He just was a deep threat, and he was making all those plays. And Chip Kelly comes in, he does all these different type of things going on. And, you know, LaShawn McCoy, you never heard anything about the stupid stuff LaShawn McCoy used to say when Andy Reid was over there. So you can tell he has a great personality. He controls those guys, gets those guys going. And, you know, he's got Patrick Mahomes now, which I still believe that, you know, even from watching the film, I think that Chiefs team was not good. And for some reason, they won the Super Bowl, which is why I'm terrified of Patrick Mahomes now at this point, because that Chiefs team, I'm letting you guys know that they weren't good, man. That was not a good football team.
What were their weaknesses?
I have no wide receivers.
He won with MVS, bro.
Yeah, Mark Valdez-Scantling, Juju
Smith.
Yeah, Juju has a Super Bowl ring.
Boo Boo
Schuster.
Juju has a Super Bowl ring. Yeah, AB called him Boo Boo Schuster one time. That's all he wrote on Twitter one time. Not Smith. He forgot the Smith completely and just wrote Boo Boo Schuster.
And Patrick Mahomes threw 5,000 yards and won the MVP with those guys. I'm tired of that.
Doesn't matter.
I am tired
terrible.
of that guy.
I'm tired. I just know how many.
Go ahead.
No. He's okay. Andy Reid is amazing. This is probably the best. I mean, I don't think people realize right now, Montana and Walsh were like obviously the best quarterback in offensive mind thing. Brady and Belichick probably best overall coach and quarterback combo. This is I think actually like this is the new best offensive mind and quarterback combo together, because like Mahomes is better than Montana. I mean, it sucks. Nobody wants to say it, but I'm talking alone. Mahomes could go to any team and ball out. Joe Montana could be good anywhere. I don't know that he would have been Niners good anywhere. Like I think it's fair to say, right? You know, he just the skill set. I mean, we're talking about a guy who can, you know, jump out of bounds and like throw it to like the other side of the field. I mean, he's just amazing, right? The thing about the Chiefs is that they are really good. They are tough up front. I think their offensive line is really good. They decided a long time ago when they traded Tyreek Hill, which I mean, I guess it was just last year, feels longer ago, but just last year, they decided, let's just have an offensive line. Who cares about everything else? And it worked. And that sucks. Like that sucks. That should kill any other team when you do that. And when you have a quarterback where you're like, actually, because he got wrecked by the Buccaneers defensive line, and you realize like, well, actually, like if we could just give him just like a full second back there longer, I don't think anybody will ever stop him. And it's just not happening. It just hasn't happened. And you know, they're starting to get lucky again. Like now, the Chiefs are starting to get lucky. They had two. I won't say the Bengals thing was lucky. That was a bonehead play, but like that happens to lucky teams. Yeah. Like the guy, like a guy being possessed, like that, you know, and just like pushing somebody, out of bounds for no reason to get him into field goal range. And then a defensive holding call in a game where no secondary penalties were ever called on the last drive of a Super Bowl. Yeah. I mean, you know, just they're starting to get that, which that to me is like, I think I might be done, man. I don't know if I can watch football anymore. I had to do the Brady thing forever, but there was drama in the Brady. There was Deflategate. There were all these things to kind of let you know it was almost over. There's like nothing with the Chiefs. Like it's like, man, I don't know. We need to. I don't know.
Was I listening to?
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Yeah.
I think the scariest thing for the Chiefs right now is that there's not really a quarterback that's close to Mahomes.
No.
So like Burrow has the better team, and he can't beat him when it needed to be. Like, there's really no reason why they should win the Super Bowl last year. I watched the film, man. There's nobody open, but he does a couple things, and then all of a sudden somebody's open, and I'm like, what the hell is happening? And how do we stop this guy? And then, if he's playing with a garbage, like, okay, that's what I'm saying, because they're all on the line. The whole team is on the line. The line is really, really damn good. But like, besides Travis Kelce, I mean, I don't even know who the wide receivers are this year. Doesn't matter.
Well, it's crazy when you have Andy Reid, when things go well for the Chiefs, Andy Reid, just the quick slant route, just the basic plays work amazingly because they have that little extra flair. And then when things break down, you have that X factor that allows them to extend and get that third down, drive down the field kind of a thing. Who was I listening to because you guys would know more about this than me, but when Andy Reid was on the Eagles, there was a lot of people that didn't respect him actually and thought he was kind of like fraud and shit.
Oh yeah.
And I always liked him back then, but I don't know. But
that's just Philly though. That you gotta realize that's Philly. You don't bring it. That's Philly. Like he didn't win a Super Bowl. I mean, nobody had at that point in Philly. But like that's Philly. They were. I thought they were way. I mean, he had like bad in-game management, like a lot of timeout issues. He still has them. He kind of still has them.
He does.
But again, what he's done is he's like one of those guys in like a sci-fi movie that like builds the perfect computer that then is smarter than him. And makes and like then the computer like flushes its own virus out of there. Then the computer realizes you're the virus. So eventually Andy Reid will just be out of here at some point, and Mahomes will just be this sentient entity that runs the entire team. And I don't know. But no, Reid's always been great. It's just the idea was that he finally got the guy that could correct all his mistakes to where they don't matter. And then Mahomes, let's be real, Mahomes was a kind of a turnover machine. Even though I loved him in college, he was amazing. But he threw picks and stuff like a lot more than he does now. And Andy Reid has found way more ways to just scheme up like easy things for him. And then you get the Mahomes extra crazy shit. So it's sad. It's sad. They're going to win the division again. I hate to say it. It's going to happen again, and they're going to go to the playoffs and save us, Joe Burrow. That's all I'm going to say.
Save us, Joe.
Save us, Joe. Joe, cool. He's cooler. He's cooler than Mahomes. Sometimes the cooler guy wins.
Come on, Joe.
Yeah, sometimes the cooler guy wins. So yeah. And I will say, last thing about Andy Reid, he has won with the backup before. Like when Mahomes has been out. So like Matt Moore, I remember one time went in and outplayed Aaron Rodgers on Sunday Night Football. Like I've seen it happen. So like Kevin Cobb back in the day. Everyone remembers Kevin Cobb.
Kevin Cobb.
He was balling with Kevin Cobb, and then Kevin Cobb gets like $50 million from the Cardinals. Stinks. He can cook. Andy Reid can cook. So like, he's good. He'll get you paid. So all right. Last but not least.
The Las Vegas Raiders, Josh McDaniels.
Man, with Josh, I gotta go beta with Josh because I feel like Josh thinks he's an alpha, and I really feel like he believes he's one. I really do. I really feel like he believes it deep in his heart and his core. And everything that he believes in. But I really feel like, man, and I know how Carr played. And I think his dynamic with Carr is kind of why the team really fell apart last year. And I think that team was good enough to make the playoffs with. Let's start there. I think if he went in there and didn't have that bad relationship with Carr, and I don't know what happened back there. Really, nobody's going to tell us. I mean, we hear once. Carr's probably never going to really tell us his side, but we hear Josh McDaniels' side all the time. But there's something kind of dynamic that went through that kind of just ruined that whole team. I really feel like that team went like two sides. I think that team went like a Carr side, and that team went with the Josh McDaniels side. You kind of could tell just how the league went and then kind of how Carr was just doing whatever the hell he wanted. Like after like mid-season on, Carr was not doing anything Josh McDaniels said. But he was missing, which I was talking about this on my last podcast. You can't do what Josh McDaniels doesn't. You just basically can't do whatever you want in Josh McDaniels' system. But if you are, you got to be like Tom Brady and hit it. And Derek Carr was missing. so you could tell like Josh was probably like going crazy and that whole dynamic they had. But I still think you got to come in there and, control those personalities a bit. Like I don't think they heard Darren Waller really well. I think Darren Waller kind of, he's a weird guy. He's a weird guy. He's really, he's, on the recovery type of stuff. And he's going to be the type of dude that he's just not going to be, it's not going to feel like that he loves football, right? Just based on his personality. And I don't think they handled him really well. So, he wants to be an alpha, though. And, maybe he brought in some guys who thinks he is. And I guess that's what you got to hope for. So, that's the thing with Josh, man. He wants to be an alpha so bad. He does. He really does. He really does.
Yeah. I think he is, and that doesn't mean I think he's a good coach. I think he is. I think he's definitely because, like, dude, I'll tell you right now, it's insane to just be like, I'm gonna extend my entire offense, and then like, actually, I don't like him anymore. Like I know he didn't do it. I know that was Dave Ziegler, but he was the one that said I don't like him anymore. And and like that's what happened. Darren Waller, pay him. Hunter Renfrow, like, oh, you can maybe be wide receiver 6 if you play well this year. But I think that he wants to do the Belichick thing. Everybody knows he wants to do the Belichick thing. I will say, I got love for Derek Carr. I was always kind of like back and forth. I loved 1 year, I hated him. 1 year, I loved. Last year it wasn't it, and I was done. I said, please just get him out of here. I was done. Most Raider fans were done a long time ago. I was done last year, and I said, get him out of here. Jimmy G is not better than Derek Carr. However, Jimmy G, if he's in Vegas, he's like, hey, coach, can I just go do whatever I want after practice? Yes. At practice, though, I own you. You are mine. You will throw to Michael Mayer in the flat. You will throw to Jacoby Myers. You will underhand it to him in slow-mo, but he'll be wide open. And I do think that I think he's going to psyop the team a little bit more this year. Yeah. Like kind of like MK Ultra them into like we're the Patriots. That might not equal a playoff berth. I don't expect it to, but I don't think that the offense is going to be bad at all. I think Josh Jacobs is going to schlub his way back in. I think he's going to schlub his way back into the play. I guess I'll play and then have a nice season. You know, he's going to do that. Then you're going to get some, that defense, as much as I don't think it's very good, there's definitely young talent there that I could see like, okay, one of those guys could have a really big rookie season. Jacorian Bennett, Tyree Wilson, could come in like second half of the year and start understanding things. And you already have an all-world defensive end. So if for some reason up front, they just end up having like a good pass rush for the year, which isn't out of the question at all. If they have a good pass rush and then they're able to score points, they might be good. That's like, it's a weird team this year. I think nobody knows what to say about them. And I think everyone's just like, well, it's the Raiders. They're going to stink. Yeah. Hey, if you're a betting man, that's probably the right move. But I'm kind of like, what if this team just likes him more? Yeah. That's kind of like Jimmy likes him. I don't think Jimmy Garoppolo has opinions.
Yeah.
If you ask Jimmy Garoppolo, it'd be like, hey man, like what's your favorite dish at that restaurant? He's like, whatever coach wants, man.
Yeah.
He's
NPC.
Jimmy G's way too private for me. I feel like something's gonna pop up for Jimmy G later on in life. We're gonna find out about him. He's just way too private.
I think Jimmy has 1 to 2 hours out of every day where he lets loose. He's like Derek Jeter, where like you knew Derek Jeter was getting down, but like you never saw it. He had like NDAs and things like where like you had to sign them like Justin Bieber does now and stuff. I just think like,
or he's like on a Sean Watson tip.
Because you get real. He got paid, and the first thing he did was take a porn star on a date. So he's hiding something.
Yeah,
and he's very private.
I seen that.
I love that John Lynch is the one that. Sorry, it's fucking told him to stop.
I know. Yeah, I seen him at Sushi Confidential once, dude. Like in Campbell, I seen him. I was like, what? Like, and no, he's not better, but I think like it's just one of those things. And look, hey, we got the young god, Aiden O'Connell.
Yeah,
nobody has talked about him yet.
Well, that helps
on this program.
That's just handpicked by Josh.
Dude, he already looks like this like Patriots. Like nothing is on my mind except for my football. Like nothing. I'm gonna pretend to understand the Super Troopers references, even though I've never seen the movie and stuff. Like like all those things. Like and he's just like one of those guys. I'm like, what if they just do create like a diet Patriots, like where like they win every once in a while. I'm just wondering because if they lose this year, and Mark Davis never wants to fire anybody until he has to, he never wants to, but this is his quarterback. Both of his quarterbacks this year are on the roster, and if their offense is bad this year, he kind of has to. I think he has to. I mean, like you, if Jimmy's bad, what else are you waiting for to fire him?
See, I will say this though. I think if they do fire Josh McDaniels, I think they could keep Aiden O'Connell because I think you could bring some West Coast guy in, and you could keep it rolling.
Hopefully, you keep the GM. I think Dave Ziegler can draft. So that's the only reason I'm like kind of optimistic about the Raiders. Is I'm like I kind of like some of the young talent they brought in, and they haven't really had young talent in quite some time. Like it's always been kind of like, oh wow, this guy traded for this guy, or oh man, this one random 5th round guy that ended up being really good. Like no, they like it seems like they have young, talented athletes. And they play well against Justin Herbert sometimes, not all the time, but like better than most teams do. I think they actually match up pretty well with Justin Herbert. They own the Broncos. I mean, who knows what happens there? We'll see what happens week 1. It'll be a tough week 1. They suck against the Chiefs, but what if Jimmy G's good against the Chiefs? What if Jimmy G has like a random team that he owns?
Yeah,
he owns the Rams.
He does own the Rams. He does own the Rams.
If you want to watch a great Jimmy G game, just watch for the Rams. He looks totally different.
Just like what? Like we just don't know. Like look, we had a constant for 9 years. It's Derek Carr. If it's worse, then okay, there was 6 wins last year. So if it's worse, then you're like, okay, Caleb Williams time or something. Like if it's worse, if it's the same, maybe we try to make a move and get up there. But I'm not as like down on them, even though I don't see them being a playoff team this year. I'm not as down on them as I am in like other years, or like it doesn't seem like I'm just hoping 3 guys are good on the team that can carry them to the playoffs. I'm kind of seeing a holistic growth on that team, which I like kind of love. Like, okay, you've got some young defensive line, some young guys in the secondary, young wide receivers, young offensive line, like some offensive linemen that look pretty good. And I'm just like, okay, I'm starting to understand what they're trying to do. Now, McDaniels, they lost all those 1-score games last year. If they can find a way to just kind of win like even half of those 1-score losses that they had, and it's like, you're, I mean, right then and there, and it's like some of that's McDaniels, some of that's Carr, some of that's a lot of it's the defense, a lot of it's that. If even just a little bit of that gets better to where you can win just a few more of those games, you just don't know. You just they played everybody competitively. They got blown out like by the Saints, and that was it.
Yeah. There's gonna be teams that they go up on early because he's just a great game planner. That's the best thing he does. Because in my opinion, I don't think he's the greatest play caller in the world when he just has to call plays. I think the game plan that he comes up with before the game are great.
Yeah, but do you think he's gonna chill out on his weird play calling? And
absolutely not.
Like that's the one thing.
That's why they drafted Trey Tucker, is so they could do like they drafted Trey Tucker. They have DeAndre Carter. They have all these little guys that can just do these little like. There's going to be a Trey Tucker.
I hate the receiver that lining up Devontae in the backfield. What the fuck are you doing?
No, it's bad, and like you could tell that's why he wanted Tim Tebow back in the day. Like you could tell there was like this like Belichick loves that college bullshit too. By the way, like just that like dumb college Mac conference Tuesday night Mac play. Like they love those plays. So I don't know. I don't know how good they're going to be this year. This is the first year in a while where I just don't have a clue about the Raiders. Like I don't have a clue. And we were the most wrong about them last year. I think we were all kind of thought they would be pretty good last year, and they weren't. So it was but it was Shakespearean. It was a Shakespearean tragedy bad though last year. They teased us, and then you can look at that one way or another. You could look at that one way as like, oh, they teased us, but also it's like they're close to winning. So it's like maybe they just win more games. Like maybe this combination of players with the coach, maybe it vibes a little bit better. That's just all. That's all we can say. Raider Nation. There's a little bit of Raider content for you at the end, and we will be back for the NFC. Probably it'll be a little more current, probably next week. So, but yeah, we'll get that done. And everybody subscribe to the channel if you don't already. It's not a football channel, but it can be at times. So make sure you go check out. Make sure you check out Tape Don't Lie. And like I said, follow us on over for the NFC. I think that one's actually good. There's even crazier takes I have on the NFC because I don't know shit about those guys. And so, all right, guys, everyone have a safe week. See you guys.